feel like that light should be on. This side is so light, this side is so dark. Hi beauties! Thanks so much for coming back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Jacob. I'm a makeup enthusiast and I love all things beauty and makeup related. So thank you so much for checking out my channel. I do hope you stick around. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the 4 most recent palettes that I've purchased. I'm going to be doing a look with each of them, and then I am going to be doing this look for you, which used some of the shades from all the palettes. So yeah, without further ado, I'm not trying to make this intro very long. I want to get right into it. So if you haven't already, please comment, like, and subscribe down below. I really appreciate all your love and support. And let's just get right into this video, guys. Okay, beauty, so getting started with the Girl Talk palette from Trixie Cosmetics. I do already have my eyes primed with my NYX Proof It eyeshadow primer. I'm going to go into the shade Mash with my Hip Dot blending brush. I'm going to take this into my inner corner and blend it up into the start of my brow. So I did about 2 layers, and then I'm going to go ahead and catch this other eye up, just blending again in the inner corner up into the brow. Now taking this BH number 9 brush and the shade BFF4EAE, I'm going to dab that into my outer V and start to blend that into my lower lash line and just into the outer V on top of my lid. And yeah, just create that winged out shape that I want, but I'm not taking it into my crease just yet. Doing the same on the other eye here. Next, I'm going to go into the shade Boy Band, and I'm going to take a domed blending brush from an Amazon set that I bought, and I'm going to start to pack that right on top of the shade BFF4EAE, and just blend those two together slightly. I am going to build this shade up, however, in my outer V, mostly on my mobile lid. Now just blending out that second layer of the shade Boy Band. I'm tapping most of the pigment onto my mobile lid and then just blending the excess into the crease. And again, just catching this other eye up, doing the same thing. Once I had this shade built up about 3 layers, I really started to define the crease with it, and again just built it up on the mobile lid in the outer V. Now that I'm really liking the shape, I am going to add the 4th layer, and these shades are really blendable. They pack a punch, but I really did want to build up this shade. I kind of almost thought that it looked neon here, so yeah, it was a really great shade to use, but just building it up and then again just blending it out here. And then once I have that all blended where I want it, I'm going to go back into that BH number 9 brush with the shade BFF4EAE to just blend this out further, not taking any additional product yet, just using what I had left on my brush. And as you can see here, I'm taking that shade Boy Band onto my lower lash line as well, just in the outer V, to give it a little more depth. Now tapping back into BFF4EAE, I'm going to start to blend this throughout the rest of my crease, meeting up with the front of my brow where we had the first shade, Mash.
deepening up the lower lash line on the outer V a little bit more. Before I move on to Sparkle, I do just want to take the first shade that I used, Mash, and make sure that's nice and blended with the crease shade that I have in there now that I've gotten everything mapped out and blended where I want it. And I do believe this is where I added a third layer of that shade Mash to my inner corner. Just applying most of the pigment to my inner corner and then blending up into my crease and the start of my brow. Now taking a paintbrush that I bought in a set at Michael's and my NYX glitter glue, I'm going to do a faux cut crease, just making a nice sticky base for the shimmer shade that I'm going to apply on the lid. And using the shade Cooties from the Trixie palette, I'm going to dab that all over the mobile lid and into my inner corner. I'm going to use this as a base for my inner corner highlight, but I did want to make this the main shade all over the lid. This shade can definitely be sheared out to be more of just an iridescent topper, but it only took about, I would say, 2 layers to really get it to full opacity, at least where I wanted it to be. I did also want to mention that I wasn't fully planning on doing another purple and green look in this video, but yeah, I tried, guys, but it ended up being purple and green. Not that I mind, I love this look, especially in the end, but sorry about the 2 purple and green looks. So this is the shade Cooties after 2 layers and using NYX glitter glue as a base. And we're just going to go ahead and catch this other eye up really quick. All caught up. Now taking the shade Lights Out and Little Sis from the palette, I'm going to use the other side of the brush. I'm going to pat this on the outer V right where the mobile lid is meeting that purple shade and just start to blend those two together using both sides of the brush here. Just until I like where the blend is at on those two. We're doing the other eye, just doing the same thing, patting it down first, and then blending once I like where I have that color down until I like where those two have blended together. Then just using my blending brush with the shade Boy Band on it to blend the rest into my outer V. Now going into Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 4, I'm going to take the shade Angels and the flat silicone applicator that's in the teardrop shape, and I'm going to use this to highlight my inner corner further. Now using the paddle-shaped silicone applicator, I'm going to dive into Heaven, and I'm going to start to dab that all over my lid just to add some texture there. And it really does look beautiful, and the applicators work really well with this. This is one of those pressed chrome flakes that she had in the palette, and I'm not one to really use my fingers too much, so I really appreciate that I was given these applicators with the palette because they really did come in handy here. Now I'm liking where that's looking. We're going to dive back into the palette to use one of the aquaveted liners in the shade Aura. I wanted to use this as a base for my lower lash line shade. Unfortunately, when I applied it, I was completely out of frame. I apologize about that. Now I'm taking a BH number 8 brush from the Studio Pro line, and just to blend that as much as I can before it sets. Now using the She Glam Chromazone Multi-Chrome Gel Liner in Zenith for my waterline. I will warn you though, the Aqualiners dry really fast, so if you are going to try to blend them out, do it quickly. Now just diving into Sixth Sense from the palette, I wanted to add this to my inner corner, mainly on the lower lash line. Then just taking the Girl Talk palette from Trixie Cosmetics and the shade Jinx, I'm going to highlight my brow bone with that. And just going back with my BH Cosmetics number 9 brush that has leftovers of BFF4AE on there to make sure that that brow bone highlight is nice and blended. Lastly, I'm taking the shade Boy Band and mixing that with the shade Whatever on my Hip Dot blending brush just to blend with Aura on the lower lash line, smoking it out and blending it with the shade Sixth Sense in my inner corner. And that's it, beauties. That is this look using the Trixie Cosmetics Girl Talk palette, in combination, of course, with my Danessa Myricks Lightworks Volume 4 palette. Okay, beauties, primed and ready. We're jumping into the Trixie X Juno palette from Trixie Cosmetics. I'm going to grab a Dew Color number 9 fluffy blending brush and the shade Lavendress. I'm going to start by packing this onto my crease from my inner corner all the way to where my outer V would start in my crease, and just really getting that color down before I start to blend it out a little bit, not going too high up into my brow. Once I had about 2 layers of this shade on, I really began to blend it out. Again, not too high, just keeping it right in the crease. Now I'm going to grab a fluffy blending brush from Wet n Wild and go into the shade Wormhole from the palette. I'm going to take that onto my outer V, patting it onto my mobile lid and up into the crease. And once I have Wormhole where I like it, I've got about 2 to 3 layers on at this point. I'm going to start to blend it into Lavendress in the crease and out into my outer V. Now I have those 2 shades blended out where I like it. I'm going to take this B8 number 8 Studio Pro blending brush and dive into the shade Flamingo. I'm going to pat this into my inner corner and blend that up into Lavendress and take it up into the start of my brow as well. Just really keeping this to the front of the crease. I didn't want to take this shade into the entire crease. I wanted to keep Flamingo focused on the inner corner and just blend it up into the brow a little bit. The rest of the crease I'm blending out into my outer V. I'm grabbing a Dew Color number 3 pointed blending brush with the shade Stunning from the palette, and I'm just going to blend all throughout my crease and again into my outer V with this shade. Here I kind of overlap the shade Wormhole with the shade Stunning in the outer V just to really get a good blend going, but ultimately these shades are really buildable and really blendable, so I didn't have a lot of problems. Now I have it built up and blended out in the crease. I am going to take it onto my lower lash line in the outer V. Now going back in with my Wet n Wild fluffy bending brush, I'm going to take the shade Snozzberry and the shade Wormhole and mix those together on the brush and start to blend out the outer V a little bit more on the mobile lid and into the crease. Now diving into the Girl Talk palette from Trixie Cosmetics, I just wanted to take the shade Jinx and use that as a nice brow bone highlight for this look. And I'm just using a little Wet n Wild lip brush to go ahead and blend that onto my brow bone. And once I have that blended where I like it, I'm going to go ahead and grab my NYX glitter glue and a nice little flat detailed brush to do a faux cut crease here. And then we're going to jump into the next shade, Joy Desperate, from the Trixie X Juno palette. And I was really hoping that this would be a nice, shifty shade. It's said to have a nice pink shift to it, but I did really try to pack it on. I believe that I used 2 layers in this look, and it still just wasn't giving very much of anything. It has this gray pigmented base, and I feel like that really makes it look like just a chalky matte shade. Once I had Joy Desperate on, I jumped back over to Girl Talk and the shade Lights Out. Now this shimmer shade really had some pigment to it, some sparkle to it. I was really impressed with this shimmer, and I went ahead and used that to just blend Joy Desperate with the outer V. Then just taking what was left on my fluffy blending brush from Wet n Wild to blend the outer V with that shimmer shade. Now I still wasn't happy with the shine factor here, so I am going to jump into the M.B.B Cosmetics Iridescent Bubbles palette, and I'm going to take that on a BH brush from the Rose Gold set and the shade Shimmer, and I'm going to pop that on top of the shade Joy Desperate here, and you'll see it really does add a lot of dimension, and you actually see some shine once I pop that on there. And now that that's on, I feel much better about the way my lids are shining, so we're going to move on to getting the face done. Starting with contour, I'm going to take the shade Pluto Root, and I'm just going to put that everywhere that I would usually put contour. Cheekbones, forehead, jawline, all the usual spots. Again, these powders are really buildable, really blendable, so you can go ham or you can go light-handed and blend them out really easily. I really enjoyed using it as a face palette just as much as an eyeshadow palette. Next, I'm going to jump over to Moon Beach, and I'm just going to use that to kind of blend out the contour that I've already laid down. Just felt like this was a softer version of Pluto Root, and thought it would be a nice little blending shade for the contour. For bronzer, I wanted to use the shade Human Beans, which is just the best shade name, I think. And again, these shades are just beautiful. I had no problems blending them out, and they all just made me feel gorgeous. I really did love how my skin turned out using these powders. Taking a blush brush, I'm going to use the shade Flamingo just to start out on my blush here. It was a nice soft pink shade, but I did add a little bit more blush later, you'll see. Once I'm done with blush, I'm jumping back into my lower lash line. I'm going to take a BH Rose Gold flat packer brush and use the shades Lavendress and Stunning. Mixing those together, I'm going to take them from my inner corner to my outer V on my lower lash line and just blend that out really well. Then I'm going to jump back over to my Dew Color number 3 brush and the shade Snosberry, and I'm just going to deepen up the outer V on the lower lash line with that, and blend it up into the outer V on my upper lash line. As I said, I wanted to add a little bit more blush just to put a little bit more color in my cheeks. This is a palette that my friend at work gave me, and I wanted to try it out, so wanted to just take that blush shade there. I do not have time to look into the shades right now. I'm so sorry. If you look into my description box, though, they should be listed there. And as you saw, I am mixing those two highlighter shades just to try and give me some shine on the cheekbones. I didn't really think that the highlighters were working that well, so dove into this unmentionable highlight that I repressed. And again, I wasn't getting everything that I wanted from it. So ultimately, I take my Trixie Cosmetics back to the Fuchsia palette and the shade Hologram, and that is what I'm going to top all my highlight off with. Before I take the Lemon Head glitter in the shade Houdini, and using my Pixie Epoxy from Firenze, I'm going to go ahead and pop that over all my highlight as well. And one last thing, got some pearls on because I am who I am. And this is the finished look, you guys, using the Trixie X Juno palette from Trixie Cosmetics in combination with the Girl Talk palette, of course. Let's see what's next. Okay, beauties, so jumping into the Serenity palette from Cosmic Brushes, I am going to take the shade Moss, and I'm going to put that on a GLMR domed crease blending brush. And I'm going to use that to pat into the first half of my crease and into the inner corner. And I am just going to start to pat this down. I'm not really going to do any blending here. I'm just starting to map out all my colors. Just going in with a second layer here, wanting to make sure that I keep the pigmentation of this color. I'm mainly using the Serenity palette for the matte shades, but I do use one of the shimmers in this look. You'll see that a little later. All the mattes are really buildable and really blendable, though. I was really happy with everything that I used. Now taking this BH Rose Gold number 8 brush, I'm going to apply the shade Sorbet right above the shade Moss, and again just using those patting motions to pack on the color where I want it. I am also taking that into my inner corner, where we'll blend that out later. Now that I've got that pretty much packed on, I'm going to go into the shade River next. Using a Luxie 213 eye shading brush, I will just pat this on a little dot right there to make it easier to blend the green and the purple that I'm going to put on next. I'm going to dive into the shade Pixie using my Do Color number 9 blending brush, and I'm just going to start this in the outer corner of my outer V, right where my bottom and top lash line meet, and I'm going to wing that out into my temple. Slightly dragging that under my bottom lash line just to give it a little depth, I'm going to start to blend that up into my crease. Now, once I have this blended up to the crease, I'm going to meet it with that blue shade River, and again, that's just going to make it a little bit easier to blend this purple with that green. Once that's all done, I'm going to start to pat Pixie all over the mobile lid in my outer V, and then again just blending it into that crease line that I've created, making it seamless. I do want that purple to show up on my lid though, once we've cut it and applied the shimmer. And just doing the same thing to the other eye. Now that everything is placed down, I'm going to go back in and just blend everything out using all the brushes that I used to apply them, except in the case of the shade Sorbet, I'm going to mix that with the shade Spring, and I'm going to use a Odin's Eye FR2 brush to blend that into my inner corner and up into my brow. The BH number 8 brush was a little too dense to use for blending this. Just using small circular motions, I'm blending Spring and Sorbet right above the shade Moss into my inner corner and again right up into my brow. Going back in with my Luxie brush and the shade River. Back in with my Do Color number 9 brush, I'm mixing the purple mattes in the palette, the shade Pixie that I originally used with Make a Wish, to blend out that purple. Again, just right into my brow, and when I get to my outer corner, instead of winging it out, I'm going to kind of round it out and use circular motions to blend in my outer V. Now taking this R2 brush from Makeup Revolution, I'm going into the shade Awake, and I'm going to use that to blend into the shade River, just to give a little more dimension. And blending Awake up into my brow. Lastly, for the matte shades, I'm going to take another R2, and I'm going to mix Pixie with the black in the palette, the shade Mystical, and I'm going to use that to add depth onto my outer V, just patting that on, again, the mobile lid and blending that into my outer V. And you can see it really does make a beautiful plummy purple shade. Once I'm liking where the depth's at, I'm going to go ahead and start to blend that up into my crease to meet with the shades River and Moss. I'm also going to take those onto my bottom lash line, again just to add some depth there. I honestly don't know what I'm doing here, just trying to blend in between the two shades, I guess, but I am just going to be covering up what I do, bringing that into the crease there, so just as a little FYI. Before I cut the crease, I am just going to go ahead and blend back with all the shades that I've used so far, just to make sure I've got a seamless blend. Now I've blended to my heart's content, I'm taking my NYX glitter glue, using a GLMR detailed concealer brush. I'm going to map out a faux cut crease kind of, to give myself a nice sticky base for the shimmers I'll use. For shimmer, I am diving into the Danessa Myricks Lightwork Volume 4 Transcendence palette. Using a BH Rose Gold No. 7 brush, I'm taking the shade Awakening, and I'm going to be packing that onto the center of my lid, blending that into the purple that's on the outer V. This shade has a blue to purple to teal, I would say, reflect, and it's so beautiful and buttery and smooth and easy to blend. I was so in love with this. Just patting that down where I want it, and then blending back and forth lightly with the tip of my brush to blend it with that purple and into my crease. And now you'll see me go back and forth with my R2 brush and the Rose Gold No. 7 brush to blend that outer V. The next shade I'm going to use from Danessa Myricks is Sixth Sense, and she describes it as a pistachio green to cool taupe. And it's a beautiful shift, and I think it just works so well with this look. It almost kind of disappears when it shifts to that taupe color, but I really love it. And I'm going to tap this shade on up into my crease. I am going to leave enough room in my inner corner though, because I do want to add one more shade. And I don't think I mentioned this, I'm just using the other side of that No. 7 brush to apply the shade Sixth Sense. I'm just going to start to go back and forth between the sides and blend between the two shades to make sure I've got them where I like them. Now that I'm liking where those are, I'm going to dive into my last shimmer. From Touch of Glam Beauty, I'm using The Grinch Stole My Money on a Wet n Wild lip brush. I'm going to apply that to my inner corner. I'm also going to drag it up into the top of my crease, basically where I would have the cut of my crease, just because I've been liking doing this, and I think it adds a little bit more dimension to whatever shimmer you've got going on the lid. So now that that is on, I'm gonna add one more layer because I am who I am. But this is essentially the eye look complete. I just have to catch the other eye up, get my face makeup done, and then come back and do the lower lash line with you guys. Now I'm back with my face all done. I'm going to start in on my lower lash line using the shade Awake. I'm going to use the R2 brush that I used originally to blend that out into my upper crease, and I'm just going to pack that onto my lower lash line and blend that into my outer and inner corners. Once I have the shade Awake all packed on and blended out where I want it, the last shade I'm going to take from the Cosmic Brushes Serenity palette is a shimmer called Opal, and I'm going to dab that into my inner corners and blend that down onto the lower lash line where it'll meet Awake. Overall, I really love the Serenity palette. I thought all the mattes were so buildable, so blendable, so pigmented. Everything worked really well. I wore this look out to the movies to see Beetlejuice, and I thought it fit the theme perfectly. So I give this palette a 10 out of 10. I do want to say the Danessa Myricks shimmers are beautiful. They are so impactful. They are just so buttery and blendable. But after a few hours at the movies, I did come home to realize that my lids had creased, which is not something that happens too often when I use my NYX glitter glue, but I am going to try it with some other things, maybe nothing at all, just to see if that helps with the creasing. But beauties, this is the final look that I've come up with using the Cosmic Brushes Serenity palette and the Lightwork Volume 4 Transcendence palette from Danessa Myricks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So beauties, for this last look, we're starting with the Girl Talk palette from Trixie Cosmetics. I'm going to use the shade Mash. And then going into the Serenity palette, I'm going to use the shade Echo from Cosmic Brushes. And I'm going to grab my Hip Dot blending brush. And this shade I'm going to put in my inner corner here. And I'm just going to blend that up to the start of my brow. This is just the first layer. It'll take about 2 to 3 layers of this color combination to get it built up where I want it. Once I've got it there though, that's when I'll really start to blend it up into my brow. Now that I like that, I'm going into the Trixie X Juno palette. I'm taking the shade Lavendress on a BH Rose Gold number 6 brush, and I'm popping this shade into the middle of my crease. I just wanted to add a little something extra here, and I thought that this shade would be perfect. Again, it's going to take about 2 or 3 layers of this shade to get it built up where I want it, but I will say that these shades are very buildable and blendable. I'm not trying to whack on a ton of color here, so they are doing exactly what I need them to do. Now jumping back into the Serenity palette, I'm taking this shade Pixie on my Odin's Eye FR2 brush, and I'm going to use this to complete the crease and wing out my outer V here, just blending slightly onto my lower lash line, mainly just to get that wing shape that I want. This shade is very pigmented. It only took about 2 layers to really build up, but you get full color payoff on first application, I will say. It really blended in well with the lavender shade from Trixie though, so I did want to know that there were no problems mixing the formulas. I did also want to say that it's really not easy to make purples blend like this, so I was really surprised that these were so blendable, and I was really happy with all the palettes that I got overall because they all just worked so well. Now from the Trixie and Juno, I'm taking Wormhole, and from the Trixie Girl Talk palette, I'm taking the shade Boy Band. I'm mixing those together on a Dew Color number 2 brush, and I'm going to use this to pack onto my mobile lid in the outer V and blend up into my outer V into the crease. Now I've got about 2 layers on here. I'm going to start to blend it onto my mobile lid before I put any shimmers down, just to make sure I've got a nice blend going, and again just into my crease in the outer V. But it will take about 3 layers overall to get this built up where I want it, as deep as I want it. And here is me applying that 3rd layer. Like I said, I didn't think it was deep enough, so I just wanted to add 1 more layer before I moved on to cutting the crease. Just cutting the crease with a Makeup Revolution Pro 100 brush using the NYX glitter glue. I'm going to start with a paintbrush from Michaels to apply Ether from the Serenity palette and Lights Out from the Girl Talk palette. Mixing those together, they are going to go onto the middle of my mobile lid right next to that deep purple. I really love the way mixing these together turned out, but both the shimmer formulas in each of these palettes are really great, so I knew that mixing them together was just going to be amazing. Now I'm taking a Dew Color number 5 brush and the shade Serenity. I'm going to use that on the rest of my lid into my inner corner. Now I like where that's built up to. I'm just going to start to blend the 2 colors together using both the brushes that I use, just back and forth. Lastly, I'm going to grab a Wet n Wild lip brush, and I'm going to use the shade Opal from the Serenity palette, mixed with Angels from my Danessa Myricks Lightworks Volume 4 palette. And I'm going to be taking this onto my inner corner and up into the top of my cut crease, and just blending that down onto the rest of my shimmers. I have really been liking doing this lately, so it's just something that I like to do, bring my inner corner all the way up into the crease and then blend it down onto the rest of my lid. Now let's just get everything else caught up. And we're done, beauties. This is the final look using all 4 of the palettes from this video. I did really enjoy doing this. I did add Heaven from the Danessa Myricks palette onto the lid, and then the shade Jinx on my brow bone.
Alrighty, beauties, so that was the video I did creating some looks with these 4 new palettes. I really do hope you guys enjoyed. I really do appreciate it if you guys stuck around to the end of the video. I hope that you were able to get some inspiration if you guys have these palettes in your collection already, or if you guys were just checking this video out to see if you wanted to pick up any of these palettes. I do hope you got a better idea of what you're looking for. If you have stuck around to the end of the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Again, you guys, your love and support means so much to me. Yeah, that is the video, you guys. Thank you again. I will see you all in the next one. Until then, I hope you guys are having a great night or day wherever you are. Just stay safe and stay beautiful. Boo!
If you haven't already, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Why can't I say subscribe?
I would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, and subscribe it. Hi, beauties. It's me, Jacob. Welcome. Or if you're new here, welcome back. No, that was wrong. Why did I say, why am I rushing? Let's slow it down. I hope that you do consider. Have a great day, guys. No, not have a great day. Alrighty, beauties. So that was the look that I did. Kill me. Okay, beauties. So those were the looks that I did. Yeah.